Good morning. All right. Markets are happy. Surprised the heck out of me yesterday. I thought, they'd jiggle around inside day. It was like that pretty much all morning. Well, till the latter part of the day. And then they decided continue to buy. You can't fight it. Anyway, so where are we going to go from here? Well, it depends on the market we're looking at. So I'm starting with the futures this morning. The Dow has been relatively weaker. This was a pretty potent reversal. This is what's happening at the moment. And the simple rule, and we've used this forever, and it has kept us out of so many trades that would have burnt us, is to just simply say, if it's a sell setup, you have to define a sell setup, let it trade below a prior day's low. And on the surface, that seems relatively insignificant if you have a sell setup to violate a prior bar's low. But it saved us yesterday. And we've been doing this for 30 years. I have. And yeah, I mean, to say I'm going to give something a little bit of extra room, all right? I'm going to get in a little bit later than I could have. And it works, right? Because if you're going to be right, that fractions or, cents or whatever it might be is not going to make a big deal. So this is not what I would define as a quality sell setup. Looking at the YM futures here, while it came down pretty hard and it violated this major support, this 2-bar reversal was powerful. And you can see it never violated the prior day's low anyway yesterday. But now, right, one of the things, well, we're always looking for at least two scenarios. Does it continue to move up today? Now, it will hit some resistance area over here. You can see it stalled right at the 20 MA. But was this the low of the move, and is it going to new highs? So we look at the Dow, it has not reached new all-time highs like the S&Ps and the NASDAQ and some other ETFs. But what we all should be watching this week, right, whatever we do as far as trades go when we talk about the broader markets, is this significantly large, wide range bearish bar totally negated, which would be like, wow, that's super bullish. We've looked at the internals, right, with deteriorating breadth, which it just continues to, right? That's the upper one here. Sentiment has backed off a bit. I'll be interested to see what it does by the end of the week, of course, always. It yesterday with this up day, breadth was actually negative, right? So you might say, well, who cares? My stock went up, right? So one of the winners yesterday was Fast, which was a buy setup, and that did great. And it's gapping up this morning. So as far as, we look at market internals, which tell us the broader measure of what's going on in the markets, individual stocks can be on their own page. And so we trade those accordingly. But this is a bad sign historically that breadth continues to deteriorate like this. So, again, we'll just see how it plays out. If this was to turn into a topping tail today, right, and it breaks these lows, short it, right, which not ain't going to happen. And we're not going to know if that's going to happen until Friday. Right? But even though this 2-bar reversal is powerful, this violated the trend. Now, everything doesn't look like that, which lends itself to, hey, Dow, short the Dow, but maybe not something else. We look for what showed relative weakness when we have clues that the market is beginning to roll over. And so this looks like something that's beginning to roll over where others do not. Let's look at a few others. So the Qs have been under pressure. They came down real hard. They held this major support, powerful reversal, It was yesterday. It negated the red bar, and it's moving up as if it's going to go up and make new all-time highs. So far, it's negating the bearish reversal, which was rejecting a new all-time high on the weekly time frame. So we'll see what this looks like at the end of the day, end of the week. Right? Does it negate the red bar, which then we have to shift to say, hey, you know what? This is going to continue to go up, right? And new all-time highs. And we always look at this and say, well, okay, I get that retracement. Does that mean this is meaningless? Well, to some extent, yes. But so yesterday in MT Live, we talked about climactics and M tops, and this could turn into a topping pattern. We don't have evidence of that yet, but that'll be something to be looking out for into next week. S&Ps, similar pattern, broke down, held the major support. So far, it's negating the wide range bar. And as far as the mags go, Alex had mentioned hard to short when mags are looking like that. Well, mags look like that because Apple paid off Trump, right? No tariffs, right? Will another 100 billion on top of the 500 billion help get us out of the doghouse? Absolutely, Mr. Cook. Step right up, bring your checkbook. You are now exempt from those tariffs and anyone else that pays. Okay, I guess that's good for America. That's good. Seems a little unfair to a certain extent, but hey, let's see where it goes. There was an article in the journal today, and it kind of raises the question, look, to a certain extent, maybe we assume, I mean, we don't get the paperwork, right? But maybe we assume that these commitments that are being talked about as far as whoever's going to be investing in billions and billions of dollars in America, well, that's a verbal commitment. There's nothing on paper. So hopefully it all plays out, because if it doesn't, I think that Trump says, well, if they don't, we're just going to hit them with the taxes. And you know what that would mean. The market will crater. I believe it would, because if you backpedal on all of this, well, tariffs are now going into effect and the market is going up. It's like, okay, it wasn't a disaster. We survived it. Let's keep buying. Okay, fine. Forget the fact that the breath is terrible. And what we were talking about prior to this week was a hopefulness that we would get some catch up trades, meaning the breadth would expand, and that breadth being where it was would eventually again catch up with everything else. Meaning, the transports that look terrible broke down through major support. So far, they're still under the 200. They begin to participate. They have a little bit for 3 days, but they rip back up to the highs and negate that. And the Russell, which got creamed, a week ago, it came down. It's like, oh my God, here's a new problem. And sell, the unemployment report. It holds this support now under the 20, and looks like it's gapping up above the 20 and into this resistance. So I think the theme for today is, can buyers continue to hold this market at this level or push it even higher? Or do they throw in the towel? Right? I'm talking about the unknown, of course, but that's what we're interested in after we get done doing our trades and participating in whatever it is that we see on each day. From a broader market perspective, the theme at the end of today is, all right, you're up for a few days. They bought the dip. It's gapping up today, which creates a void below. Does that get sold into, creating a big reversal bar, and the weekly turns into some kind of a topping tail bar? I don't know the answer to that, neither does anybody else. But that's what we need to be looking out for by the end of this week to see how that plays out. Now, as far as, I'll take a quick look at the mags, because, yeah, they turned around, and One of the, I guess, clues, if you will, was, I think the news on Apple was out already, but yesterday started with a wide range bar up, and then if you remember, it was an hour of insanity yesterday where the markets whipped up and down and up and down. And then when they cleared that first hour's high, they just began to ascend in a very systematic, controlled manner. And look, no pivots on the 5-minute chart over here, no pivots. That just means consistent buying, negating a topping tail bar on the weekly time frame. Now, it hasn't taken it out, but where it is, it's gapping up toward the top of that topping tail bar. Now, you see the daily time frame. There should be sellers up there. Somebody got caught. Remember, we said this was the gap up on Microsoft News. It was like, what idiot is buying up there? Right? In the short term, yeah, they proved to be idiots, right? And maybe they just sold the low. Who knows? But when something's been advancing like that, has been, and then it gaps up, there's going to be sellers into that. It's just the mechanics of the market. So now, as this retests an area where sellers were very aggressive, based on technicals, we'd assume they're going to sell again. But we don't know. Right? So now we look, does it form a topping tail? Does it come down and fill this gap? Does it go sideways? Those are the things that we need to look for today, right? Which we'll see as this unfolds in the next couple of hours. All right. Qs gapping up. Where are they gapping up to? Right into that same big nasty red reversal bar on the daily time frame and topping tail on the weekly. This topping patterns, if this is what this is, they tend to be kind of painful because they have these starts and stops. They don't make turns like bottoms do. Right? Bottoms are V bottoms, W bottoms. They happen pretty fast. Sometimes topping patterns take longer periods of time because buyers don't give it up as quickly. So this may mean a week or two of going sideways up here. Of course, that could result in a move higher. But look, the extension from the 20 on the weekly would suggest prices are going to correct sideways, down, whatever it'll be. And we'll see how that unfolds. All right. We looked at the transports and Russell futures. We didn't look at those, but potent reversal. Yesterday, they underperformed throughout the day. I mean, they held up, but they got rejected and they just sat there all day, just flip-flopping back and forth. Now they're up near the prior high. So we'll see if this can hold on to the gain. Does it expand itself higher into this resistance area? I mean, this is what I call schizophrenic. It's like, hey, let's buy, right? Kramer pressing his button there. Buy. Now sell, right? From one few days to the next few days. That's schizophrenic. That's a nut job, right? No, let's buy it again, and so on. So it certainly makes it more difficult to be committed to anything here with patterns like this, which I guess we really shouldn't be. Right? Trade something else that looks cleaner, obvious, that's worked in the past, like this. Solid uptrend. It reported earnings over here. It pulls back to a rising 20. It stabilizes for a few days. Yes, let's buy that. It worked out great yesterday, and now it's gapping up this morning. Right? Clean, obviously clean, high probability patterns. Right? Market wise, we're not dealing with things like that at the moment. It'll come again. All right. Other markets, I can hand it over to Dan. All right. Nut job, schizo price action, interest rates fall tremendously. They're stabilizing here. They're bottom of the range. Definitely something to keep an eye on, whether these interest rates start to come up or whether they break down below here. Gold is coming back up toward is at the top of the range now. So there's somebody still believes that tariffs, inflation, I guess all yet to be seen. But this has been doing nothing for a long time. Silver coming off of the lows. Uh, Oil, been all over the place too. Wide whippy trading range, bottom of the range. We'll see what that's going to be doing. Spiders. Let me get to SPX. Love that little thing saying that I made up there because it's so damn true. It's not about the dark cloud covers and Haramis and so on and so forth. All right. So what does this tell us about pictures of what traders' beliefs are? Buy. Holy shit, what the hell just happened? Is support here? Will they buy again? Well, they have. There was the sell setup, the red bar that never traded under the prior bar's low. It's negated the red bar. It's coming up into resistance. Where's the cursor? Right, gapping up into that big nasty red bar on the daily time frame. Are they going to sell? We'll all know in a couple of hours. If that turns into a topping tail bar, while it's still in an uptrend, it leads to a greater probability of a topping pattern. So we need that information to see what's going to happen here. Okay, SPX, and then I'll hand it to Dan. Spread this out a little bit. There was the sell setup that didn't trigger. And 5 and 14-day average true range. And so now prices are gapping up here. So I haven't even looked yet, but the call strike based on yesterday and today historically should be like, a moonshot. Let's see where they are. How bullish are they? Oh, I always do the put side first. $53. So above the whole number. And at yesterday's low. It should never get to yesterday's low, gapping up to where it is. Okay. That's an assumption. 20, 94.25. Let's go 94.25. That's interesting. It's not a moonshot strike. Not at all. I thought it would be up here. Now it's above 6,400, which is going to be a stopping point as a whole number. And let's see here. The open interest isn't that big, huge. It's the biggest at 6,400. So it should definitely be a stall point if it does get up there. And that would be where, if it should get up there, and what we do is look for some kind of a failure pattern on the 5, and then look for what the premiums are up above that level. So yeah, today we're going to see the seller's going to take control on this gap up, or our buyer's going to hold it steady. All yours, Dan.
Well, yeah, we had 2 call spreads on semiconductors, but we took our profits yesterday. We still have one on Meta. Let's take a look at. Alex just showed me this nice gap reversal, outside day, bullish engulfing weekly, but it's up a lot from yesterday's low. I'd like a 1, 2, 3, 4. The Meta alarm. So we have the 790s. So we're still $15 away. And this is actually less of a gap than the Qs. So a little bit of relative weakness. The other things are up more. But yeah, we were watching Apple yesterday. There's a discussion in the room about, it might tank here because of the India tariffs. I'm like, no, I disagree. This price action is saying they don't care about it. And then, as Greg said, the 100 billion more investment, and And now the market's happy. And you know, the news is always trying to point to something about, oh, markets are up or down on blank. And that they're having a little bit of a hard time today pointing to something. I know they're saying Trump's gonna meet with Putin, and you know, who knows the reasons why it's gapping up, because there's different reasons. But that's Meta I'll be managing. We have break even stop. Cat. I'm watching this for a call spread. Just Climo here, two topping tails, and this is gapping down, so a little bit of relative weakness. I have an alarm at 424. And then Curve is our only other open position in the weekly options. We have a put spread, the 99s. Up alarm went off, so I said, let's just bid a dime and take our money. We might get filled right at the open here. Core alarm. And this was an igniting gap. It was actually one that we bought calls on into earnings. And then we hedged to lock in our gain. But now it's a new setup. What's the new setup? Is a bull rectangle. Gap up, bullish consolidation, bullish weekly, monthly. I'll set an alarm, 1295 now. Yep, that's where I had it already. CMG alarm. I guess that popped it there a little bit. It's a Climo, but no good turn yet. Carvana alarm, that's buy setup after the earnings gap. WST gapping up here. This we actually had posted the other day, but then it was too spready, and then it broke down and I canceled it. But let's put this back on the list. So I love, you know, we talk in the room here all the time. We made a big discussion about it in MT Live yesterday, that we need the turn. And I said exactly this yesterday. I said, when this was red, I said, if this turns into a bottoming tail and breaks out, now I got my turn. And that's exactly what's happening today with the gap up. So this looks fantastic. We just gotta wait a few minutes and check those spreads out. Let's Amcor alarm. Nope, that's not it. Here, another one. We said over the red bar here, but the gap, it's gapping over it, and the gap's too big. So ideally, this would have just gapped up here, you know, somewhere within yesterday's range. And then that's today, Thursday, and then it would take out Tuesday's high, but the gaps must not have. Let's go to earnings now. I deleted a bunch already. As always, yeah, I deleted a ton of stuff here. And I did a couple earnings trades myself. This was one. I sold the 11.5 naked, and I should be able to close that at a penny at the open. Oxy. It's gapping up to yesterday's high. It's just range bound. That's range bound mess. Yep, Lily's on the list, absolutely. Yep, I'm going through them here. Lily got whacked. I think Sam was talking about doing a short strangle on this. So I had it over here. I got it on my other computer, Lily. Keep an eye on it. Airbnb gapping down. This was one that I said yesterday. If it opened flat, you could short yesterday's low. Sell setup, bear 1, 2, 3. Sell setup on the monthly. but now I don't have a pattern. BDX. Yeah, I see it gapping up there on very light volume. Yeah, it's a big gap to resistance. It's got to let it simmer down. APA, another oil gapping yesterday, no interest. But again, the daily, weekly, and monthly is a sell setup. So if this were actually, I set an alarm at 1810. If it gives up this gain and closes weak, then that's a short for tomorrow. That's a big old monster gap. That's huge. Look at that. That's one of these cyber stocks. But it's bearish daily, weekly, monthly. But gapping down to 75. That's a monster gap. Dash. That's bullish. That's Greg, we're trading this in the green room on Monday. Yeah. And we said it could be a 2 to 3 day swing trade. We would have put it in the weekend in the letter as a swing, but for earnings. So that's bullish on a pullback. RDW getting killed. Look, percent wise, that's pretty ugly. It was down worse. It was down $1 more. But no pattern. Recent IPO, Amaris. I don't know what they do, but gapping all-time lows. This looks great as a short. So Alex, I know you gave me a short to look at. Well, let me look at that short first and I'll compare it to this. Alex said this was a short watch. It is a short watch, and I got a continuation pattern. I don't like it this far from these moving averages. But it does look lower. Now compare it to this one. See, tighter to moving averages, tighter to resistance, and a void. So this looks great. If this could be a 5-minute low. Or Tawi's saying I bet Apple will buy back soon. So let me put this in a window. NTR, so that's a tier 1 short watch. And look at that percent. This was one I actually looked to buy puts yesterday because look daily, weekly, monthly. And they were just, too expensive. But in retrospect, they weren't too expensive because that's a monster gap down. But I said if it opened flat, short it, but gap's messing it up. This one I said if it opened flat, short it. Look at that big old topping pattern. It's kind of a head and shoulders here with bigger right shoulder. That's ugly, but no setup. Look at this monster gap. Look at the size of these gaps, but that is bearish as can be gap. That's ugly. All right, our curve up alarm again, so that should hopefully be meeting our 10-cent target. It's probably spready though at the open. This NTR alarm went off. See, this looks great. I just hate chasing in the first 5 minutes, but look at that. It already fell above 50. That was a tier 1 short setup. I just wanted it to trigger slowly, like within 5-minute low. I said tick is over 1,000. But big gap. Naturally get sold into a little bit. All right, there's Elf. That's a big ugly gap, but that has a void, so it looks lower. This will be a 1, 2, 3 maybe for tomorrow. I just wish the 200 wasn't there. Lift. Look at that cross. Curve up alarm. Yeah, we should, we gotta be in our target, but yeah, curve is really moving here today. Lift, I can close it at a penny, or I can let it ride. I think I'll bid a penny, just, it's just small insurance. Build, so I'm out at a penny on lift. In feed. It's an ADR, it's spotty, it's 15-minute chart, not crazy about resistance to the left. IP, yeah, you mentioned, yeah, that's due. Yesterday we talked about Climos, right? That's not a trend change, it's just a bullish reversal and support. Climo with a void. Yeah, you can buy a 5-minute high on that. I actually put an order out pre-market to sell a put spread for next week. I am not filled. But I was looking at the 45s. Because of the stupid spreads. It's 0 by 75. Can't believe that. I mean, it's a liquid company. This used to be, remember, it used to be a Dow 30. And you got 0 by 75 spreads? Are you insane? Satish. Yeah, that'd be a great put spread for tomorrow also. That's a nice climb. Oh, I like the retest, and I like Tuesdays. Red bar ignored. There's no weeklies, however. And the 70s naked at 30 by 50. So there's not enough premium. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a bounce. The benefit of IP though is you got major support to the left. So IP is better, I think. UPS. Yeah, another Climo. I like the 15-minute opening action here. Also put spread. Let's see, the 85s for tomorrow are 5 cents. Are you crazy? Yeah, with VIX low. It's crazy. Let me take a screenshot of my dash. My dash naked put. No, it's not dash. What was it? What did I do yesterday? Duolingo, that's what it was. Duolingo. Duolingo. All right, so this one I shorted uh I shorted the 230 puts for $1 yesterday. So now the two, yeah, I mean everything's 0 by 5 cents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the 300. I'm going to buy the two 300 puts for a nickel. To give me a free put spread. I'll do the 290s.
Yeah, what about the saying, there's nothing free on Wall Street?
Well, that's true. Oh, you mean with my strategy here?
Yeah.
Oh, uh, okay, so I just got filled. So yeah, so now I have a free put spread, and I'll explain that later. And yeah, I'll do a video on these. And yeah, I'll explain that exact situation. Um, actually, let me give you a screenshot, Greg, if you can post it. We can because it's easier to show a visual. I wish I could just copy and paste right in here.
Wish you could what?
I wish I could copy and paste right in this text. Wow, look at these gold stuff, man.